Welcome to Todd, Liles, and the Wizard of Ads. This is the third and it is the final episode in this short series where we've been focusing on the biggest ideas that surfaced repeatedly throughout the season. Now, the principle that we're exploring today sits underneath everything else that we've talked about. What it actually means to be remarkable, and why reputation, consistency, and memory matter more than cleverness, novelty, or momentary attention. So, in this episode, you'll hear Roy talk at length about how brands are formed in the mind and why people trust what feels familiar, and why the most successful businesses are rarely the loudest ones, but almost always the most consistent. These are long, uninterrupted explanations because this idea isn't something that you absorb in a soundbite. It's a way of seeing how businesses grow and why some endure while others fade. So let's jump right into this last special episode.
Advertising is a tax you pay for not being remarkable. Welcome to Todd, Liles, and the Wizard of Ads, a podcast for business owners who want to become remarkable. Tarantino Todd Liles is going to take you deep into the mind of Roy H. Williams, the Wizard of Ads, to unleash the timeless truths and secret strategies that have helped him build dozens of America's most successful businesses. Do you want to build a brand that wins the heart, captures the mind, and creates lasting relationships? Take a deep breath and buckle up. It's time to fly.
Here's how you know a brand is remarkable.
All right.
If you hear lots of people remarking about it.
Oh, there we go.
And so unless people are remarking about your brand, it is by definition not remarkable. And so what is a brand? Well, honestly, I think Jeff Bezos gave the best definition of what a brand is.
What was it?
It's what your customers say about you
That's
when
true.
you're not around.
You know, I heard it was told to me, and it's always made a lot of sense. Like, how do you know if you're a leader?
Yeah.
You turn around and see if anyone's following you.
Exactly. People talk about you all the time. When people are so profoundly impressed, whether it's positive or negative, when they're just profoundly moved, they tell people, they talk about it, they make remarks about it to their friends. And so advertising is a tax that we pay for not being remarkable. And when you have a company that is remarkable, then you can just accelerate that growth by talking about what you do and why you do it that way,
Mhm.
and what it means to the customer, why the customer should care about how you're going to do it, and the fact that you do it the right way, not the easy way. And then they go, do I believe that? And I do believe that about these people because they're paying the price for it. And so whenever your people know it's true, you know what's really interesting? Everybody's had this experience, Todd. Everybody's had it. There's things that you say all the time. You're always saying these things. You say these things. And everybody's heard you say these things a million times. And then somebody else says basically the same thing you've said a million times. And everybody gets excited about it. And they believe this person. And it's like they've never heard that before. And you're sitting here going, what? 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 I've been saying this for years and you never believed me, but you suddenly believe this guy and act like you've never heard it before. You know what the difference is?
Tell me.
When he said it, they believed him.
Mm-hmm.
When you said it, they didn't. Why did they not believe you when you said it? And I'm not about you personally. I'm talking about me. I'm talking about all of us.
I would say
they don't see our behavior.
That's it.
They don't see our behavior
That's it.
delivering what we say we believe.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, this other person says it, and they've seen something in that behavior, or they've seen some external evidence that causes them to believe, yeah, this is the guy. And so they respond enthusiastically because now they believe such things are possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so being the company that you pretend to be, being the company that you claim to be, delivering what it was that you promised and more than you promised. See, there cannot be delight without an element of surprise. Did you know that? If you deliver exactly what you said you were going to do, there can't be any delight. There's satisfaction. They got what they were promised. But to be delighted, something had to happen that you weren't expecting. There cannot be delight without some element of surprise.
Yes. let's dive into the science of repetition. How often does someone need to hear it? When does it begin to sink in, assuming that they have a beautiful message that's already created for them?
Okay. Okay. Every time I say this, I always preface it by saying this is not a rule. This is not like write this down and it has to be done exactly this way. It is an approximation. It's like when the judges hold up the scores on people jumping off the high dive at the Olympics. And everybody says, they give it a 9.1 or, they give it a 9. This person gave it a 7. This person gave it an 8. But I'm going, and then they average the scores together and they come up with what, a 8.6 or something. I don't know. Well, this is one of those kinds of things to where it's just like this is kind of where you have to be, but too many people write it down and think that it's an unbreakable law. Please don't do that. Sleep erases advertising. Sleep is God's gift to humanity to wash and purge and cleanse the mind of all the noise of the day. And that's why we say, let me sleep on it. And that's why we say things always look better in the morning. So repetition is a function of how many times does the same person experience your ad within 7 nights' sleep. So the first thing you're going to have to measure when you measure repetition is what's the window we're measuring? Because when I say you need to have a 3 frequency, which means a repetition of 3, well, every person selling media can get you a 3 frequency. See, I got you the 3 frequency, but then you look over here and it's a 3 frequency each month. No. Has to be a 3 frequency every week.
And ideally not on the same day?
No. The same day's fine.
Same day's fine?
Same day's fine. Repetition of 3 within 7 nights sleep.
Gotcha.
Now, if you're looking for immediate reaction, then you literally run an ad per hour on the same channel. In other words, the more often you hit them before they go to sleep, the deeper you drive the nail into the board. Tap, tap, tap. Think of repetitions as the tap of a hammer, and the message is a nail, and this hard piece of lumber is the human mind. Tap, 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 but then out comes the claw at night and pulls the nail back out. So the next day you have a little hole that you got started the previous day. You put the nail in the hole, tap, tap, tap. You go to sleep, the claw comes out and lifts the nail up. Now, after a while, the nail gets deep enough, it doesn't pull it all the way back out, but it pulls it part the way back out, the claw of sleep on this claw hammer. And so what you're actually dealing with is when you're trying to create unaided recall, when you're trying to create a brand, which is automatic, involuntary recall. You name a category and they name the company, okay? When your company is the one they name first, they think of it first, feel the best about it, you name the problem, they name the company. Boom, this is who I would call. That's an unconscious thing. That's automatic, involuntary, unconscious memory. Boom, it's just there. You can only get that with repetition. The impact of the ad multiplied by how often they've experienced is what creates what's called procedural memory. Procedural memory is involuntary, unaided recall. There's physical procedural memory, like when you touch the brakes on a car. Okay? Now remember, dog runs out in front of the car, you hit the brakes, you don't think about it. You automatically do it. It's unconscious, involuntary, you hit the brake. Why? Because the number of times you've touched the brake and the car slowed down or stopped, and you've done it so many times, the repetition of it suddenly becomes automatic, involuntary. Okay? And so it takes repetition to make a name a household word, to put a name, to drive the nail through the board and clench it on the other side, bend it over. That nail's never coming out. You can do that with enough repetition. How much repetition does it take? Depends upon the power of the message. So that's the crazy part here. I'll go with the 2.5 frequency on radio per week, 52 weeks in a row, but nothing less.
Got it.
Okay. Now on television, you don't need as much repetition. Okay. I'll go with the 1.5 per week on television. That means every week of the number of people I'm reaching, and that's called net reach. Net reach is the number of different people you're reaching. If it was online, they would call it unique visitors. Okay. So net reach, I'm looking for a 2.5 on radio per week, every week, 52 weeks in a row. Or I'll settle for a 1.5 on TV. More is better always, but I won't let it go below 1.5. So what does a 1.5 mean? Everybody doesn't hear it 1.5 times. That's not what it means. It means half the people heard it once that week. The other half heard it twice that week. And so if you hear it once this week and twice next week and twice the week after that and once the week after that, you'll get there. You'll drive the nail through the board and clinch it on the other side, but not in the first year.
Got it.
You're going to get increasingly good retention as the months go by. But the first 6 months when you're trying to build a brand are just absolute hell. The second 6 months, you're seeing a light at the end of the tunnel and you're feeling like maybe this has a chance to work after all. The second year is when they start to get a little bit excited. When you have a good message and you're consistently advertising it every week. Never reach more people than you can afford to own and carry around in your pocket. Most advertisers are reaching too many people with too little repetition and too weak of a message. And so if you strengthen the message and then limit the number of people you're reaching so that you're reaching that number with appropriate repetition, it's called frequency, then you're going to get infinitely better results from your advertising. And so that's the media buying strategy that you have to have, but you have to be looking at the right reports. You want to see net reach and repetition for 1 week.
Got you.
A 1 week schedule. And so how many people can you afford to reach? Depends on how much money you have. And never reach more people than you can afford to own.
Wonderful.
2.5 frequency measured by Nielsen on radio and a 1.5 measured by Nielsen on television. And I'm saying if you're wanting people to remember you, think of you, and call you, or Google your name is what they're actually going to do. They're going to type your name into the search bar. They have to think of you because they feel like they know you and they trust you. So you know what it takes to make people trust you?
That's the question.
No, it's real simple. I was asked this yesterday. 3 people came down, spent a day with me. You've done this before. And he had a kind of a crisis in the company. And it was a direct result of the economy that's undergoing kind of a change right now. And the price of gold is over $4,000 an ounce and a bunch of other things that are kind of little indicators. And so he's in a financially related business and had 3 big boom, boom, boom crises. And he was talking to me and I said, and his wife, and I said something about, and they said, well, tell us the story about this person that I'd mentioned from earlier in my life that is gone now. And they said, you said that when you met him and after you spent a little bit of time with him, just less than an hour, you really, really liked him. And you decided you wanted to work with him for free and help him get on his feet. And they said, what in the world? What was it? What was it that you made you like him so quickly? And I had an answer because I do this very consciously in my writing. And I do it throughout the day to the best I can. Being unguarded enough that you will share things that the average person would not share. And I said, whenever you meet a person and they tell you things and you're a complete stranger, and the average person would not have shared that. Now that creeps some people out. They call it oversharing.
Yeah.
But there are others of us that appreciate it. And we're going, you know what? This guy is not trying to put out a facade. This person is not trying to project onto me some image of how they want to be perceived. He's letting me see him real. And when a person lets you see them real, you kind of like them and you trust them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you might object to a whole lot of things they do, but down deep, you're kind of determined to like them because they just actually let you see who they really truly are, and they're not trying to fool you. And I'm going, when you meet somebody and you just realize, this is one of the most authentic people I've ever met. I'm always attracted to that person. And that's what I try to do in ad writing. I say, I can't create a character for you to play. All I have to do is I have to get to know you well enough to find out who you are going to keep being whenever I turn my back.
Yeah.
And then promise people that.
Yeah. Authentically vulnerable.
Yep.
That's very powerful. Being remarkable isn't about doing something once that gets attention. It's about doing the right things consistently enough that people remember you, trust you, and talk about you when you're not in the room. That's the common thread here that's running through everything that Roy teaches, and it's why reputation is one of the few assets that actually compounds over time. If you've listened to all 3 of these special episodes, my hope is that you're hearing the season a little differently now. Not as a collection of tactics, but as a set of principles that work together. I'm Todd Liles. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Tarantino, Todd Liles, and the Wizard of Ads, where the bold win and the remarkable reign. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you never miss a conversation. If you want a copy of the show notes or watch the ads from today's show, head over to toddliles.com/wizard. This episode is dedicated to the business owners who refuse to be ordinary.